This morning, we eliminated Ali Larijani. Ali Larijani is the boss of the Revolutionary Guards, that criminal gang of gangsters which effectively runs Iran. We also eliminated the Basij commander alongside him.
Decapitation strategy. Netanyahu claims Ali Larijani eliminated as Israel hunts Iran's leadership. One by one, they are falling: the supreme leader, the ERG commander, senior nuclear scientists, the Basij chief. And now, if Israel's claims are confirmed, Ali Larijani, the man who ran Iran's Supreme National Security Council, the veteran power broker who spent decades as the quiet architect of Iran's strategic direction, the former parliament speaker who once sat across the negotiating table from Western diplomats as the face of Iran's nuclear program. Gone, Israel claims, in a precision strike. If true, this is not just another military operation in a conflict already overflowing with extraordinary developments. This is a systematic, deliberate campaign to destroy Iran's leadership layer by layer, to kill the people who make the decisions, not just the infrastructure that carries them out. And it raises a question that is becoming impossible to avoid. Is Israel executing a strategy of deliberate regime decapitation? And if so, where does it end? Netanyahu's announcement: direct, unambiguous, extraordinary. Speaking in a televised address, Benjamin Netanyahu did not hedge. He did not use the language of military briefings: we struck a target associated with or an operation was conducted in the vicinity of. He was direct. This morning, we eliminated Ali Larijani. He went further. He described Iran's power structure as a gang of gangsters run by the Revolutionary Guards, language designed not just to justify the killing but to delegitimize the entire system Larijani represented. He confirmed that the Basij commander was killed alongside Larijani in the same strike, and he framed both eliminations not as isolated operations, but as part of a coherent, sustained campaign to hollow out the Islamic Republic from the inside. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz confirmed the same information independently, announcing the killing of Larijani and Basij commander Gholam Reza Soleimani in what he described as precise, targeted strikes. He revealed that he had just received confirmation from the IDF Chief of Staff. He invoked the imagery of striking the head of the octopus, a metaphor for targeting leadership rather than tentacles, for going after the decision-makers rather than the forces they command. Prime Minister Netanyahu and I have instructed the IDF to continue hunting down the leadership of the terror and oppressive regime in Iran, to repeatedly strike the head of the octopus and not allow it to rejoice. The language of hunting, the language of not allowing rejoicing. These are not the words of leaders conducting a conventional military campaign with defined tactical objectives. These are the words of leaders engaged in something closer to a systematic elimination program targeting Iran's entire governing structure. Who was Ali Larijani? To understand why this claimed elimination, if confirmed, matters so much, you need to understand who Ali Larijani actually was within the architecture of the Islamic Republic. Larijani was not a figurehead. He was not a ceremonial official occupying a prestigious but powerless position. He was one of the most consequential figures in Iran's political system for more than 3 decades, a man who moved fluidly between the highest levels of military, political, intelligence, and diplomatic power in a way that very few individuals in any country's history have managed. He served as Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, the body that coordinates Iran's most sensitive national security decisions, sits at the intersection of military and intelligence policy, and advises directly on nuclear strategy, regional operations, and responses to external threats as Secretary of that council. Larijani had access to and influence over virtually every major strategic decision Iran made. Before that, he served as the head of Iran's state broadcasting system, controlling the information environment that shapes Iranian public opinion. He served as parliament speaker for nearly a decade, giving him deep institutional roots in Iran's legislative power structure, and perhaps most significantly for the international community. He served as Iran's chief nuclear negotiator, the man who sat across from European and American diplomats in the crucial years when Iran's nuclear program was the defining diplomatic challenge of the era. He was, in the assessment of most Iran analysts, one of the 3 or 4 most powerful and most knowledgeable figures in the Islamic Republic, a man whose institutional knowledge, political connections, and strategic experience were genuinely irreplaceable. He was last seen publicly just days before his reported death, standing alongside President Masoud Pezeshkian at a pro-Palestine rally in Tehran, on a public appearance that makes the precision and speed of the Israeli strike that followed even more striking: the silence from Tehran. Iran has not confirmed the killing, and that silence is significant, but it requires careful interpretation. There are several reasons why Tehran might not immediately confirm the death of a senior official in the middle of an active war. Confirming the killing validates Israeli intelligence and targeting capabilities. It tells Israel that its information was accurate and its strike was effective, providing feedback that helps the adversary calibrate future operations. Confirming the killing also creates a domestic information challenge. It signals to the Iranian population that the regime is being systematically dismantled from the outside, potentially undermining the narrative of resistance and resilience that the government is trying to maintain. And confirming the killing creates a political obligation to respond decisively, raising expectations for a retaliatory strike that matches the severity of the loss, which may not be operationally desirable at a particular moment. Iran's silence could mean the strike missed. It could mean Larijani is wounded but alive. It could mean he is dead and Tehran is managing how and when to acknowledge it. It could mean the Iranian government is still assessing what happened. What it does not mean, given the pattern of this conflict, is that nothing significant occurred. Israel has made enough specific, named claims in this war, some subsequently verified, some not, that each individual claim requires careful assessment rather than blanket acceptance or rejection. What is unambiguous is this: Israel claims it killed Ali Larijani. Iran has not denied it. And the geopolitical significance of that claim, true or false, is already reshaping the conflict's trajectory. The decapitation strategy, deliberate and declared step back from the individual operation and look at the pattern that has emerged. Over the past several weeks of this conflict, it is not subtle. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei killed in the opening hours of the U.S.-Israeli strikes on February 28th. The URG commander eliminated. Senior nuclear scientists described by Netanyahu as the heads of the atomic bomb development program killed, multiple of them, with Netanyahu noting we've hit a few more now. The Basij commander killed in the same strike as Larijani. Mojtaba Khamenei, the newly appointed supreme leader, claimed by Netanyahu to have been eliminated, though this remains unverified and disputed. And now Larijani. This is not a list of people who happen to be near military targets that Israel struck for other reasons. This is a targeted list, a systematic effort to identify and eliminate the individuals who constitute Iran's strategic leadership, its institutional memory, its decision-making capacity, and its ability to coordinate a coherent national response to the military campaign being waged against it. Netanyahu has stated this objective explicitly and repeatedly. He has used the language of undermining the regime. He has spoken of giving the Iranian people the opportunity to remove their rulers. He has described Israel's operations as designed to destroy the Revolutionary Guards and the Basij in the streets and at checkpoints. He has said there are many more surprises coming and many more tactics that he will not reveal publicly. This is a declared strategy of leadership decapitation combined with a stated objective of regime change pursued through military force by a foreign government during an active war. The historical precedents for this kind of strategy being successfully executed are limited. The outcomes when it has been attempted in Iraq in 2003, in Libya in 2011, have not always produced the stable, liberated successor states that the architects of those campaigns envisioned. Netanyahu is aware of those precedents. He is betting that Iran in 2026 is different, that the Iranian population's accumulated grievances against the Islamic Republic are deep enough, and the regime's governing capacity degraded enough, that the removal of its leadership creates an opportunity for genuine popular transformation rather than a power vacuum filled by chaos. Whether that bet is correct is a question that will define the Middle East for a generation. Trump, Netanyahu, and the joint strategy. Netanyahu confirmed in his address that he had a lengthy conversation with President Trump the day before specifically about the coordination of American and Israeli operations against Iran. He described close cooperation between Israeli and American air forces and navies, and stated that Israel is supporting American operations in the Gulf through both indirect pressure and direct strikes. Trump, for his part, has been characteristically direct. Speaking about the growing list of eliminated Iranian officials, he referenced what he called Iran's high turnover rate in leadership dark humor that nonetheless reflects a genuine strategic alignment between Washington and Jerusalem on the objective of degrading Iran's command structure. The confirmed deep coordination between Trump and Netanyahu on this campaign raises questions about the formal parameters of American involvement in the leadership elimination program. Is the United States providing intelligence that enables the targeting of Iranian officials? Is it sharing signals intelligence, satellite imagery, or human intelligence about the movements and locations of senior Iranian figures? Is the Larijani strike a joint operation, an Israeli operation enabled by American intelligence, or a purely Israeli effort? These questions matter enormously for the legal and political dimensions of the conflict, both domestically within the United States, where congressional oversight of covert operations is a constitutional requirement, and internationally, where the targeted killing of another country's senior government officials raises profound questions. under international humanitarian law? Netanyahu's framing, "We are helping our American friends in the Gulf and there is cooperation between our air forces and navies," suggests the partnership is deep, active, and mutually beneficial. But the specific operational details of that partnership remain carefully undisclosed. Netanyahu's defiance, "We are a mighty, almost, global power beyond the operational announcements." Netanyahu's address contained a passage that deserves attention for what it reveals about how Israel's leadership views this moment in history. He told Israelis to ignore the channels of despondency. He described what Israel has achieved since October 7, 2023, the Hamas attack that killed over 1,200 Israelis and triggered this entire chain of events, as historical achievements. He said Israel had gone from being on the brink of collapse to being a mighty, almost global power fighting alongside the world's superpower shoulder to shoulder. He asked the audience, which other nation still possesses these capabilities? All of them are under attack here. Who has these strengths? This is the speech of a leader who believes he is winning, not just tactically, not just operationally, but strategically and historically. A leader who believes that what appeared to be Israel's darkest moment, the October 7th attacks, the vulnerability they exposed, the international isolation that followed, has been transformed through war into a demonstration of Israeli power that will reshape the region for decades. Whether that assessment is accurate is a separate question, but understanding that Netanyahu genuinely holds this view, that he is not simply managing a crisis, but believes he is seizing a historical moment, is essential to understanding the decisions he is making and will continue to make. He also addressed domestic concerns directly. He promised compensation frameworks for affected Israelis, referenced support for the north of the country, and compared the government's commitment to supporting citizens to its responses during previous crises. The combination strategic triumphalism alongside attention to domestic welfare is the rhetorical structure of a leader trying to sustain public morale through a conflict that is causing real hardship to real people. Is this regime collapse or escalation's next stage? The question Netanyahu's address has placed on the table, and which analysts across the world are now wrestling with, is stark. Is what is happening in Iran the beginning of regime collapse? Is the systematic elimination of Khamenei, Larijani, the URG commander, the Basij chief, and senior nuclear scientists creating an irreversible fracture in the Islamic Republic's governing capacity? Are the conditions Netanyahu described Iranian people ready to take to the streets, a regime too degraded to suppress them actually materializing? Or is this the prelude to an even bigger, even more dangerous escalation? Iran has not surrendered. It has not signaled any willingness to negotiate. It continues to launch wave after wave of ballistic missiles at Israel. It continues to threaten the Strait of Hormuz. Its proxy forces continue to attack American bases across the region, and a new supreme leader, whoever is actually currently in that role, continues to project, at least publicly, an image of defiance and resolve. Regimes under severe military pressure do not always collapse. Sometimes they consolidate. Sometimes the external threat that appears to be destroying them actually strengthens the internal loyalties that keep them in power. Sometimes the population that a foreign leader expects to rise up looks at the destruction being visited on their country from outside and rallies around the flag rather than turning on the government. The Islamic Republic has survived for nearly 5 decades. It has survived the Iran-Iraq War, which killed hundreds of thousands of Iranians. It has survived economic sanctions that devastated the lives of ordinary citizens. It has survived multiple waves of internal protest, each one suppressed with varying degrees of brutality. It is not an institution that collapses easily. But it has never faced what it is facing now. It has never had its supreme leader killed by a foreign strike. It has never had its most senior security officials systematically hunted and eliminated. It has never had its missile factories and nuclear facilities struck repeatedly from the air while simultaneously facing an economic and financial crisis of unprecedented severity. The honest answer to whether this is collapse or escalation is, nobody knows yet. The situation is genuinely unprecedented. The variables are too many, the uncertainties too deep, and the decisions of too many actors too unpredictable for confident analysis. What is clear is that Israel has committed to a course of action, the systematic elimination of Iran's leadership from which there is no easy retreat. And Iran, having watched its leaders fall one by one, faces a choice between negotiating from a position of severe weakness or escalating in ways that could make even the current level of conflict look restrained by comparison. The hunt continues. Netanyahu ended his address with a word he repeated 4 times in succession, in both English and Hebrew, as if the repetition itself was meant to transmit it directly into the consciousness of every Israeli listening. Determination, 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 determination. It is a message to his own people. It is a message to Iran, and it is a message to the world. Israel will not stop. The campaign to decapitate Iran's leadership, to degrade its military capacity, to undermine its governing structure, and to create the conditions for its people to seek a different future, that campaign is continuing. There are more surprises coming. There are more tactics that have not been revealed. There are more names on the list. One by one, they are falling. And in Tehran, whoever remains of Iran's leadership is waking up each morning not knowing whether this is the day their name comes up next. That is not a comfortable position for any government to be in, but it is, by design, exactly the position Israel intends them to occupy.